It is Wednesday, February 11th, 2026. And honestly, if you've been trying to keep up with the global scoreboard this week, you probably need a nap.
Oh, absolutely.
We're looking at a week where, the definition of peak performance just got completely rewritten across about 4 different time zones.
It really is one of those weeks where the headlines aren't just about who won, but how the games themselves are changing.
Right.
We have the Winter Olympics in full swing in Milan, obviously, but we also have these major shifts in collegiate sports policy and, some truly mind-bending records falling in track and field.
And that is exactly our mission for this deep dive. We aren't just going to read you the box scores.
No.
We're going to look at the math behind a 1-point Olympic victory, the rapid rise of a brand new varsity sport, and teenagers doing things that just shouldn't be physically possible.
We have a lot of ground to cover, from the ice in Italy all the way to a historic futsal tournament in Bangkok.
Let's start with the big one, the Winter Olympics. The figure skating team event at the Forum di Milano wrapped up on the 8th.
Mm-hmm.
The United States takes gold, Japan takes silver, Italy gets the bronze. But the real headline here isn't the medal color, it's the margin. 69 points for the U.S., 68 for Japan.
Right. One.
Yeah.
Single point. And when you actually look at how they got there, it's a fascinating clash of philosophies.
How so?
You had Japan, who brought this incredible consistency across the board, versus the United States, which, really relied on these massive spikes of high-risk, high-reward performance.
Well, let's break that math down, because on paper, Japan looked like the better team, in terms of average placement.
Exactly. If you look at just the final segments, the free skates and the free dances, Japan was technically superior across the majority of the disciplines.
Yeah.
Kaori Sakamoto won the women's free skate. Their pairs team, Miura and Kihara, won the pairs free. Their ice dance team won the free dance. They were scoring the maximum 10 points in almost every category.
So if Japan is winning 3 out of 4 of the final events,
how on earth does the U.S. walk away with the gold?
Yeah, that's the question. How?
2 words. Ilya Malinin.
The quad god.
The way the scoring system works, you need to accumulate points in every single segment, including the short programs from earlier in the week. Mm-hmm. The U.S. built up a bit of a buffer early on, but in that final men's free skate, the pressure was just immense. The U.S. and Japan were tied, 59 points each going into that last routine.
Which is terrifying. It literally all comes down to one person on the ice.
And this is where the sport just becomes math. Malinin didn't just skate well. He skated a routine that is mathematically unreachable for almost anyone else on the planet.
Right.
He landed 5 quadruple jumps and scored a 200-point EO3 in the free skate.
200 points.
For
context, the second-place finisher, Japan's Shun Sato, he was fantastic, but he wasn't doing that.
Right. Sato skated beautifully, but Malinin's technical difficulty score, the base value of his jumps, is so incredibly high that he essentially brute forced the win. It proves that under this current code of points, one singular transcendent talent who pushes the technical boundaries can outweigh a team that is consistently excellent everywhere else.
That is such a tough pill to swallow for Japan, especially when you see the images of Kaori Sakamoto crying tears of joy because she thought they had done enough.
It was so bittersweet. She was emotional because her teammates delivered, perfect performances. They did everything they possibly could. But the Malin factor is it's an anomaly in the sport right now.
And speaking of anomalies and, pressure, we have to talk about the other side of that coin. While Malinin was thriving under the pressure, Amber Glenn had a much harder time in the women's free skate.
She did.
She ended up in 3rd, struggling with her triple axel.
And this is the human element that so often gets lost in the medal count, Glenn wasn't just battling gravity. She was dealing with a lot of external noise. A lot.
That was going on.
She had made some comments supporting the LGBTQ community and human rights earlier in the week, and the response she got on social media was apparently just vitriolic.
She mentioned receiving genuine threats.
She did. She said she'd never had so many people wish her harm. And then to just pile on top of that, a musician, Seb McKinnon, was publicly complaining that she used his music without permission.
Oh, wow.
So she's trying to focus on the biggest moment of her life while dealing with safety threats and this sort of legal, ethical noise.
It really highlights that these athletes don't exist in a vacuum.
Yeah.
You can be an Olympian and still be scrolling through your phone seeing people attack you. It definitely creates a much more complex picture of that gold medal.
Absolutely. It wasn't just a clean win. It was a gritty one, fought on the ice and, in the mind.
Now let's pivot from the individual isolation of figure skating to a sport where you literally cannot survive without your team.
Right.
We're heading to Portugal for the Women's European Water Polo Championship.
And this was a wild tournament. It was held in Funchal, Madeira, and if you like a fence, this was your absolute dream scenario.
I saw the stat sheet, 1,296 goals scored in the tournament. Is that right?
Averaging nearly 25 goals a match. To put that in perspective for you, water polo can often be a defensive grind, with scores in the single digits. This was just end-to-end action.
And the final between the Netherlands and Hungary seemed to bottle all that chaos into one game. It ended 10-10 in regulation.
A classic deadlock. And this is where the psychology shifts entirely. In a penalty shootout, water polo becomes a purely mental game.
I can't even imagine.
You're treading water, your heart rate is at its max, and you're staring down a goalkeeper who is trying to bait you into a bad shot.
And the Dutch held their nerve.
They did. They won the shootout 5-3. It's their 7th European title. But what really stood out to me was the resilience. Hungary is a powerhouse, and the Netherlands had to match them goal for goal the entire time.
There's also a structural change to this tournament, wasn't there? Something about 2 group stages.
Yeah, European Aquatics tried a new format where the top teams moved into a second main round group phase before the knockouts. The goal really was to eliminate those blowout games where a top team just crushes a minnow 20-2. It kept the competitive tension high all week, which I think likely contributed to that high goal count. The teams were sharper because they had to be.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Iron sharpens iron. Speaking of sharpening skills, let's move to a sport that's often called the incubator for technical brilliance. We're talking about the SAF Women's Futsal Championship in Bangkok.
This is a really, really significant development for South Asian sports.
Before we get into the results, we should probably clarify for anyone who doesn't know, how exactly is futsal different from, say, regular indoor soccer?
So think of futsal as soccer played in a phone booth.
Okay.
It's 5-on-5, played on a hard court, no walls to bounce the ball off. But the biggest difference is the ball itself. It's smaller and heavier with much less bounce.
So you can't just kick it and run.
Exactly. You have to control it. It forces you to develop these insane close control skills and really quick decision-making. That's why so many of the Brazilian superstars grew up playing it.
Okay, so we have this technical showcase featuring all 7 members of the South Asian Football Federation.
Yeah.
India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, everyone showed up.
Yep.
But I have to ask, why was the South Asian Championship held in Thailand?
That's a great catch. And it really comes down to 2 things: infrastructure and geopolitics. Thailand had the ready-made facilities, but also the relationship between India and Pakistan can make travel and visas complicated if the tournament is hosted in either of those countries. A neutral venue like Bangkok just removes the diplomatic headache and lets the athletes play.
And one team didn't just play, they absolutely dominated Bangladesh.
They were on another level entirely. Undefeated. They beat the Maldives 14-2. Their goal difference was +28.
+28. That sounds like they were playing a different sport.
They practically were. Their captain, Sabina Khatoon, scored 14 goals herself. She was the top scorer of the tournament. But the bigger takeaway here isn't just the blowout scores. It's that these women in South Asia are getting a platform to play this specific skill-building version of the game. It's going to pay massive dividends for their 11-a-side national teams in a few years.
It's laying the groundwork. Now, speaking of laying groundwork for the future, the NCAA dropped a bombshell this week that is going to change the American sports landscape pretty dramatically.
This is huge. Flag football is now officially an emerging sport for women at the NCAA level.
And this isn't some maybe in 5 years kind of plan.
Right.
This is effective immediately for spring 2026.
Right. And to be clear, emerging sport is the specific NCAA terminology for we are fast-tracking this to become a full championship sport.
So what do they need for that?
They need 40 varsity programs to hit that championship status, and they're already projecting 60 schools will have teams by this spring.
That feels incredibly fast.
Yeah.
Usually these things take decades. Why the rush?
The Olympics. The 2028 Summer Games in LA are right around the corner, and flag football is on the docket.
Of course. The U.S. wants to win, and to win, you need a pipeline. By legitimizing it at the college level, now offering scholarships, varsity status, coaching, they're essentially building an Olympic development program overnight.
So we are witnessing a sport go from like intramural fun to scholarship pathway to Olympic podium in the span of what, 3 years?
It's completely unprecedented.
Mhm.
And it changes the whole equation for female athletes.
Yeah.
We have a quote from Kilolo Westerland, an athlete at Alabama State. She said, "This sport has led me to a college scholarship and a future in the game I love."
That's the game changer, isn't it? The scholarships.
Absolutely.
Suddenly, if you're a fast, agile athlete who maybe doesn't love the contact of rugby or the endurance of soccer, there's a new door open for you to get your education paid for.
Precisely. It just broadens the definition of who gets to be a college athlete.
Okay, I want to wrap up with our rapid fire round, but sticking with this theme of new opportunities, we saw some incredible numbers in women's college basketball this week. It was Play 4K week. For those who don't know, that's the annual initiative honoring the late NC State coach Kay Yao, raising money for cancer research. It's always a really emotional week, and the intensity on the court matched it.
The visibility was the key for me.
Yeah.
ESPN aired over 260 matchups.
And these weren't small games either. You had number 19 Tennessee versus number 3 South Carolina, a massive rivalry. You had LSU and Texas battling it out. I mean, the ecosystem of women's basketball is just so healthy right now.
But if you want to talk about healthy or maybe superhuman, we have to talk about what is happening on the track.
Oh, yes.
I was reading these times from last week, and I honestly had to double-check the ages of these runners.
It's honestly terrifying for the veterans in the sport. The youth movement isn't coming. It's here.
Let's just look at the mile. Sam Ruth, he is 16 years old.
And he ran a 3.48.88.
Okay, stop right there. For the listener who just jogs occasionally, a 3.48 mile, what does that actually mean historically?
Put it this way. In the 1960s, that time would have won you an Olympic gold medal.
Wow.
The current world record is around 3.43. So you have a high school sophomore running within 5 seconds of the fastest men in history. That shouldn't be happening.
He's not the only one. Cooper Leckenhouse.
17 years old, set a U20 world record in the 600 meters with a 1.114.15.
And Cam Myers.
19 years old. He won the Wanamaker Mile, which is one of the most prestigious indoor miles. But he didn't just win. He beat Jared Nuguse and Hobbs Kessler guys who are established pros.
He's beating grown men.
Yes. So what you're seeing here is likely a combination of everything, the shoes, the training, nutrition.
Early specialization.
Definitely. These kids are training like pros from age 12. They have access to the super spikes technology. They have advanced recovery data. They aren't just talented kids anymore. They're high-performance projects coming to fruition way, way earlier than we're used to.
It connects right back to what we saw with Malinin in skating, or that flag football push. The timeline for becoming elite is compressing.
Exactly. If you can run a 3.48 at 16 or land 5 quads at 20, the old rules of waiting your turn just don't apply anymore.
So, here's where it gets really interesting for me. If the NCAA is legitimizing flag football just 2 years before the Olympics, and we have teenagers running these Olympic-caliber times, are we witnessing the fastest amateur-to-pro pipeline build in sports history?
I think we are. And it raises a massive question for the future. If you are a young athletic kid today, the menu of options has never been larger, but the pressure to pick one and specialize has never been higher.
Right. Do you stick with soccer, or do you chase that flag football scholarship? Do you run track, or do you try to become the next skating phenom?
It's going to be a fascinating battle for talent over the next decade.
Well, whether you are watching the water polo replays or tuning in to see if a 16-year-old breaks another world record in Madrid next week, there's plenty to keep an eye on. Thanks for diving in with us.
Thanks for having me.